Have you ever felt like your family doesn't respect you the way they used to? Maybe your children call less often, your grandchildren seem uninterested in visiting, or your presence feels more like an obligation to them rather than something they truly enjoy. It's a painful thought, but what if you're unknowingly doing things that push them away? The truth is, many seniors make the same mistakes without realizing the impact they have on their relationships. They don't see how their words, behaviors, or attitudes might be creating distance between them and their loved ones. Over time, this leads to fewer phone calls, shorter visits, and an overall loss of respect within the family. In this video, we're going to expose 5 specific behaviors that could be ruining your relationships without you even realizing it. These are the real reasons your family might be avoiding you, feeling frustrated, or no longer treating you with the respect and attention you deserve. But here's the good news. Once you recognize these mistakes, you can change them. Small adjustments in how you communicate and interact with your loved ones can completely transform your relationships, bring back warmth and connection, and restore the respect you deserve. As we go through each reason, ask yourself honestly, have I been guilty of any of these? And before we dive in, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss more insights on keeping your relationships strong and meaningful. If you find that your family calls you less, shortens visits, or seems uninterested in conversations, you might be unknowingly pushing them away with constant complaining. Nobody enjoys spending time with someone who only focuses on the negatives, criticizes everything, or always finds something to be unhappy about. Even if you don't mean to, a negative attitude can drain the energy from any conversation and make your presence feel exhausting rather than enjoyable. At first, your family might listen patiently, offering sympathy or advice. But over time, if every conversation turns into a list of problems, frustrations, and disappointments, they may start to pull away. They might feel helpless, unable to fix anything for you. Or they may simply start avoiding interactions to protect their own mental well-being. The biggest mistake many people make is assuming that sharing frustrations is a form of bonding. While it's normal to talk about challenges, relationships thrive on a balance of emotions, shared experiences, and uplifting moments. If your children and grandchildren associate you with complaints, negativity, or sadness every time they call or visit, they may begin to avoid those interactions altogether. Negativity doesn't just affect your relationships, it affects how people perceive and respect you. When you constantly focus on what's wrong with the world, your health, or other people's choices, you may come across as pessimistic, ungrateful, or even difficult to be around. Over time, people respect those who inspire, support, and uplift, not those who always dwell on the bad. So how do you change this and make your presence something your family looks forward to? Start by shifting your conversations. Instead of opening discussions with complaints, begin with curiosity. Ask about their lives, their interests, and what excites them. Show genuine interest in their experiences rather than focusing only on your own struggles. Another powerful approach is to practice gratitude. No matter what's going on in life, there's always something to appreciate. Instead of saying, everything is getting worse, try saying, I'm grateful I get to talk to you today. Positivity is contagious, and when people see that conversations with you make them feel good, uplifted, and valued, they will naturally want to spend more time with you. That doesn't mean you have to pretend everything is perfect. If you need to vent, try balancing complaints with positive moments. Instead of saying, my health is terrible and I feel awful every day, try saying, I've been struggling, but I'm working on improving my routine. This shift in language shows resilience instead of helplessness, which makes conversations more engaging and productive. The goal is to make your presence feel like a source of warmth, wisdom, and joy. People are drawn to those who make them feel appreciated, valued, and inspired. If your children and grandchildren associate you with encouragement rather than complaints, they will naturally want to call more often, visit longer, and treat you with the respect you deserve. Do you think negativity affects your relationships? Let's discuss in the comments. One of the fastest ways to push your family away and lose their respect is by trying to control everything in their lives. Even if your intentions come from a place of love, constantly giving unsolicited advice, questioning their decisions, or making them feel like they're doing things wrong can create deep frustration and emotional distance. Your children and grandchildren need to feel like they are in charge of their own lives. When they don't, they may start avoiding conversations, limiting visits, or shutting you out altogether. Many parents struggle with letting go of control, especially when they've spent years guiding, protecting, and making decisions for their children. But once your kids become adults, their lives belong to them. They have their own families, jobs, responsibilities, and ways of handling things. When they feel like you're constantly correcting them, questioning their choices, or trying to interfere, they may start to resent your presence rather than enjoy it. One of the most common ways this control shows up is giving advice when it wasn't asked for. Saying things like, "You should really do it this way," or "I don't understand why you don't just," can feel like criticism rather than support. Even if you're trying to help, they may see it as a sign that you don't trust them to handle their own lives. Another issue is trying to guilt them into doing what you want. Saying things like, "You never visit me anymore," or "If you really cared, you would call more often," might seem like a way to express your feelings. But to them, it feels like manipulation. Instead of making them want to be around you more, it makes them feel like spending time with you is an obligation rather than a choice. The truth is, people naturally respect and want to be around those who respect them in return. When you allow your children and grandchildren to make their own decisions without judgment, they feel safe coming to you, not just when they need help, but when they simply want to share their lives. The less pressure they feel, the more they'll want to stay close. So how do you let go of control without losing your connection? Start by replacing judgment with curiosity. Instead of saying, "You should do it differently," try saying, "That's interesting. What made you decide to do it that way?" This shift makes them feel heard and valued rather than criticized. Another powerful approach is offering advice only when asked. If they don't come to you for guidance, trust that they are capable of figuring things out on their own. If you really feel the need to share your perspective, try saying, "Would you like my advice, or do you just want to talk about it?" This small question shows respect for their autonomy and helps avoid unnecessary conflict. Finally, let them live their lives without guilt or pressure. Instead of making them feel bad for not calling or visiting enough, focus on making the time you do have together positive and enjoyable. If they associate you with warmth, support, and happiness rather than stress and obligation, they will naturally want to be around you more. Letting go of control doesn't mean losing your influence. It means gaining more respect, stronger relationships, and deeper connections. When your children and grandchildren feel truly free around you, they will choose to call, visit, and include you in their lives. Not because they have to, but because they want to. If you're enjoying this video and want more insights on strengthening relationships and maintaining deep connections with family, don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button. It really helps support the channel, and you'll never miss our future tips on staying emotionally connected with your loved ones. Now let's move on to another mistake that might be pushing your family away: making every conversation about yourself. If your family seems less eager to call, visit, or have long conversations with you, ask yourself one simple question. Do I let them talk, or do I always bring the conversation back to myself? One of the biggest reasons people pull away is when they feel like every conversation is one-sided, where one person dominates the discussion, never truly listens, and always redirects the focus back to themselves. This happens more often than we realize. You may think you're simply sharing your experiences, giving advice, or telling a story. But if you're not giving others the chance to express themselves, they may feel unheard, unimportant, or even frustrated. Over time, they may start to avoid long conversations or give short responses just to end the interaction quickly. Many seniors fall into this habit without meaning to. It often comes from a desire to share wisdom, express feelings, or connect through personal experiences. However, when every topic shifts back to your past, your struggles, or your opinions, your children and grandchildren might lose interest in talking to you. They may feel like they're just an audience rather than an equal part of the conversation. The key to building stronger relationships and earning more respect from your family is being genuinely interested in their lives. People naturally gravitate toward those who listen, ask thoughtful questions, and make them feel valued. If your kids or grandkids feel like they can open up to you without being interrupted or overshadowed, they will naturally want to talk to you more often. One of the best ways to improve your conversations is to practice active listening. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak or thinking about what story you'll share next, really focus on what the other person is saying. Nod, make eye contact, and respond with follow-up questions like, "That's interesting. How did that make you feel?" Or, "Tell me more about that." This shows that you're engaged, rather than just waiting for the conversation to come back to you. Another great strategy is balancing how much you talk about yourself. If you realize that you've been speaking about your experiences for a while, pause and shift the conversation back to them. A simple way to do this is by saying, "But enough about me, what's new with you?" Or, "I've talked a lot. What's been going on in your world?" These small gestures make a huge difference in making others feel heard and appreciated. If you notice that your kids or grandkids don't share much about their personal lives with you, it might be because they feel like there's no space for them in the conversation. The best way to fix this is to create an environment where they feel comfortable opening up, an environment where they know you will listen without interrupting, correcting, or shifting the focus. People love talking to those who make them feel valued, understood, and respected. If you can shift from dominating conversations to creating real, meaningful dialogue, your family will naturally want to call, visit, and spend more time with you. They will see you as someone they can talk to, rather than someone they just listen to. How do you keep conversations balanced with your family? Let's talk in the comments. Holding on to grudges and constantly bringing up past mistakes, disappointments, or conflicts can silently destroy the respect and closeness in your relationships. While it's natural to feel hurt by things that have happened in the past, dwelling on them and refusing to let go can create emotional distance between you and your loved ones. Over time, this can make your children and grandchildren feel like they can never truly move forward with you, leading to shorter visits, less frequent calls, and strained conversations. Many seniors fall into the habit of replaying old conflicts, reminding family members of past wrongdoings, or using guilt to get a response. While you might think you're just expressing your feelings, your family may experience it as emotional exhaustion. Nobody wants to feel like they are forever being judged for something they said or did years ago. When grudges remain unresolved, they build walls instead of bridges. If every time your child visits, they hear about how they don't call enough, how they made a poor decision years ago, or how they've disappointed you in some way, they may start to pull away just to avoid the negativity. Even if you have valid reasons to feel hurt, repeating old grievances only reinforces the distance between you and your family. Forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened or pretending that past conflicts didn't hurt. It's about choosing to release the emotional weight of those grudges so they don't continue poisoning your relationships. When you forgive, you free yourself from resentment and create space for healthier, more meaningful connections. One of the best ways to move from conflict to peace is to acknowledge the past, but focus on the present and future. Instead of saying, "You never visit me like you should," try saying, "I love seeing you when you come over. I always look forward to it." Instead of reminding your children or grandchildren of past mistakes, show appreciation for who they are today. The more positive your interactions, the more they will want to be around you. Another important step is letting go of expectations that cause resentment. If you expect your children or grandchildren to behave a certain way, to call at a specific time, to visit as often as you'd like, or to make life choices that align with your beliefs, you may be setting yourself up for disappointment. Instead, focus on appreciating what they do give you, rather than what they don't. Finally, if there has been a major unresolved conflict, consider being the one to extend an olive branch. A simple conversation like, "I don't want us to let the past stand between us," "You are important to me, and I'd rather focus on moving forward," can be powerful. Taking the first step toward reconciliation shows strength, emotional maturity, and a deep desire for connection. Resentment creates distance, but forgiveness builds respect. If you want your family to cherish your presence, enjoy your company, and look forward to spending time with you, make the decision to let go of past hurts and embrace the time you have together now. If you're enjoying this video and want more insights on strengthening family relationships, don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button. It really helps support the channel, and you'll never miss our future tips on maintaining deep, meaningful connections with your loved ones. One of the biggest but least talked about reasons why your family may be pulling away from you is not respecting their personal boundaries. Even if you have the best intentions, ignoring or overstepping boundaries can make your children and grandchildren feel frustrated, emotionally drained, and hesitant to engage with you. Over time, this can cause them to limit conversations, shorten visits, or even avoid interactions altogether. Many parents and grandparents don't even realize when they're crossing a boundary. It might be asking too many personal questions, showing up unannounced, offering unsolicited advice, or making comments about their parenting, career, or personal life. Even small things, like pushing for more frequent visits, making them feel guilty for not calling often enough, or insisting on doing things your way, can create an invisible emotional barrier. Your children may not confront you about it directly, but instead, they might gradually start distancing themselves to protect their personal space. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about creating healthy relationships based on mutual respect. When your children and grandchildren know that you respect their space, choices, and personal lives, they will naturally feel more comfortable spending time with you. One of the best ways to build stronger, more respectful relationships is to ask rather than assume. Instead of dropping by unexpectedly, ask if it's a good time to visit. Instead of offering advice on their parenting, career, or personal life, ask if they want your opinion before giving it. A simple question like, "Would you like my advice on this, or do you just want to talk about it?" shows that you respect their autonomy and are not trying to control their decisions. Another important step is letting go of guilt tripping. Saying things like, "You never visit anymore," or "I guess I'm just not important to you," might express your feelings. But to them, it can feel like manipulation. Instead, try saying, "I really enjoy spending time with you. Let's find a day that works for both of us." This creates a positive, pressure-free way to strengthen your relationship rather than pushing them away. Respecting their boundaries also means accepting that their lives, schedules, and priorities are different from yours. Your children and grandchildren have their own routines, families, and responsibilities. If they don't visit or call as often as you'd like, it's usually not because they don't love or respect you. It's because life is busy. Instead of taking it personally, focus on making the time you do spend together enjoyable and meaningful. If you're unsure about what boundaries your family values most, the best thing you can do is ask. A conversation like, "I want to make sure I respect your space. If there's ever anything I do that bothers you, please let me know," shows maturity, openness, and a willingness to build a stronger relationship. It tells them that you care about their comfort and happiness, not just your own expectations. Respect is a two-way street. The more you respect your family's space, time, and choices, the more they will respect and appreciate you in return. When people feel free to interact on their own terms, relationships become stronger, more fulfilling, and more enjoyable for both sides. Do you think respecting boundaries is key to strong relationships? Let's discuss in the comments. If you've recognized some of these mistakes in your own behavior, don't worry, it's never too late to make a change and rebuild respect in your family. The key to stronger, more fulfilling relationships isn't about being perfect. It's about understanding what creates distance and making small, meaningful adjustments to bring people closer. The 5 biggest mistakes that push family members away are constant complaining, trying to control everything, making every conversation about yourself, holding on to grudges, and ignoring personal boundaries. Each of these habits, even if unintentional, can slowly erode respect, making your children and grandchildren feel frustrated, unheard, or emotionally drained after interactions. But here's the good news. Respect can be regained. Relationships can be repaired. All it takes is a willingness to reflect, to listen, and to approach your family with the same kindness and patience that you wish to receive. Start by shifting the way you communicate. Instead of leading conversations with complaints or frustrations, focus on curiosity, appreciation, and positive moments. Instead of offering constant advice, let your children and grandchildren feel confident in their own choices. Replace judgment with encouragement and watch how quickly the dynamic begins to change. Let go of past conflicts and stop bringing up old wounds. Resentment only creates distance, while forgiveness builds bridges. When you choose to release grudges and focus on the present, you open the door for deeper connections and a fresh start. Most importantly, respect their space, their choices, and their independence. When people feel free to engage with you on their own terms, without pressure, guilt, or expectations, they will naturally want to be closer to you. The best relationships aren't forced. They are built on mutual understanding, shared joy, and the ability to enjoy each other's presence without tension. You don't have to become a different person overnight. Even small changes, a warm message, a listening ear, a simple "I appreciate you," can make all the difference in how your family sees and respects you. The effort you make today will shape the way they treat you for years to come. Choose to be the person they love being around, and respect will follow naturally.